Thank you all for being here. Welcome to the California Placement Association's monthly webinar. So excited to have you all here. My name is Greg Friedman. I am your host today. I am a job developer and training technician with Merced County Office of Education. Very quickly, I'd like our board members to go around and just introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with Miss Nisha Hill.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nisha Hill. I am the Job Developer and Placement Coordinator at Mount San Jacinto College. Welcome.
Awesome. Miss Jackie.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie Kennedy Harris, and I am a career coach. I'm on the board. I am the employer rep, and I apologize. I have a raspy voice today. So welcome, everyone.
Christine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. This is Christina Lee. I'm the president of California Placement Association. It's amazing to see all my beautiful faces here, and of course, our CPA board and our members. Thank you for being here today. Welcome. And we have our wonderful webinar. Thank you, Sherri Johnson, for being here. And those of you who don't know California Placement Association, please go ahead and check us online. We are a great association and we are still accepting memberships. So go ahead and become a member. There's a lot of opportunities that are coming this year, especially joining us at the regional workshop that we'll be having at Fresno State. And also we have another annual state conference that we'll be planning in Ventura in 2024. So lots of stuff happening for our wonderful organization, our association, and we like your participation. And everything we do is to give back all to you guys, wonderful practices, toolkits, everything you need to do the best at your job, that what you guys are doing today in workforce development. So thank you again. And let me go ahead and, so the board members.
Thank you. But I have to give a big shout out to Transfer. They are our sponsor for California Placement Association. They are our big sponsor this year. Transfer is amazing. If you don't know about them, it's transferinc.com is their website. They use the Oculus Rift, the virtual goggles, to get people ready for internships and employment. I just saw their course catalog the other day. It's pretty extensive. Everything from career exploration to automotive repair and diesel. They cover construction, culinary, the medical arts. They even cover aviation. So their curriculum is extensive. They're working on doing more. Check out their website for more information. They'll also be at our Northern Regional Workshop where you can actually put on the goggles and see what the whole virtual reality is like and how we can use it to help our students prepare for employment. And with that, I'd like to introduce Sherri Johnson. Today, we're going to be talking about resumes. Sherri is also a job developer and training technician with Merced County Office of Education with our Empower program. Works with out-of-school youth aged between 16 and 24. She's been with them for 3 years. Before that, she was a small business owner. She's worked for HSA, or Health and Human Services. Yes, is that HSA? There you go. For over 13 years. And just to pop it off the cherry on top, she's a veteran. So Sherri, I thank you so much for being here today, and I'm happy to have you lead the discussion on resumes.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, everybody. Anyway, good morning. So basically, I'm just a sociology major who basically decided and committed to doing a bunch of research in regards to today's topic. I'm not going to profess to be a know-all be-all expert on the matter, and I'm really hoping to meet everybody at the Fresno conference in November. I'm really excited about that opportunity, but I just was asked to kind of overview some of the basics and have some discussion and dialogue. I really want this to be more of a conversation than anything else today. So please, 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 I appreciate everybody having cameras on and participating. We'll go ahead and get it started. Greg already did my intro, so we'll go ahead and just skip through that. I want to start off with a couple of icebreakers. My first question to you is, what do you think the average amount of time an employer spends looking at a resume? You can either talk to me or put it in the chat. I'm good either way.
30 seconds.
2.5 seconds I'm seeing. A minute, 6 seconds, 15. 5 minutes. Ten seconds, a minute, six. I guess 6 seconds is our most popular answer.
Yeah, everything I was reading said between 7 and 12, like for the most part. So if you're guessing 6, you're probably about right on target as far as, we might spend an hour plus with our individual working on the resume, but the employer's only going to look at it for a brief amount of time. So readability is really a key component of the resume initially, and making sure that we are really capturing the attention, and formatting and everything is very important, right? So then out of all, oh, whoops, I skipped ahead. All right, so the next question is, out of all the people who have cameras logged on today, how many people do you know or have met in person? I'm just kind of curious as to how, like, if everybody's seeing the same faces all the time, or if there's a bunch of new people to the group, or what the kind of dynamic or culture is.
I know 6 people on here, and there's a time we have 50. We have 50 participants. This is one of our bigger ones. We got someone knows 20, about 6, 1, 3, no one. Suzanne, welcome. You'll be best friends with all of us by the end of the day. Cameron knows 4, 8 to 10 people. So
Great. Okay. So that just gives me a sense of the room, like who knows and who's familiar, just to kind of try and facilitate a little better in regards to interaction and conversations. So then we all are job developers on some level and assist individuals with writing resumes. So I guess my final question is, what attracts you to our workplace culture? What makes you decide that this is the work that is for you, and that you have decided to dedicate? A lot of you have years and years of experience, 10 plus, many of you, based on the survey. So what attracts you to the culture of doing the job that you do?
feel free. We can do chat. You don't have to chat.
You
You can
talk
just.
if
you
it's
can
too
chat.
much.
I think I love the students, the mission, the impact on others. Oh, work-home balance, nice. Teach me that. I got
I
it.
want to learn that a little better.
The stuff I'm teaching really matters. Yeah, it's a calling. That's it for me. It sounds like a lot of us. It's the purpose, our purpose for work. We talk about with our students. Finding employment's your purpose, freedom, helping people to live a better lifestyle, being a part of a person's professional journey, and to assist with their polish. Nice. Helping students.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Now, I just want to take a moment, and I want you all just to congratulate yourself and celebrate the work that you do. I think that you are all amazing individuals. I appreciate and value your time and dedication to be here today. And just know that your work really does matter. So the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. I know a lot of people struggle with resume writing and how to get started and what to do. So this is kind of one of my favorite quotes from Disney, Walt. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So starting off with the basics. Again, I tell you, I work with youth, so I have to tell them that they have to use their, their full legal name based off their social security card. I educate them in regards to the sense of that everything needs to match. The application needs to match, the resume needs to match, everything needs to align, because it's all going to the IRS to document employment history. I also encourage them to set up a voicemail. I tell them, I said, if as a previous employer, I tell them, I'm like, am I going to call you 8 times to schedule an interview? No, I'm going to move on to the next applicant. So I'm going to leave you a voicemail, tell you to call me back, or let you know when the interview is going to happen. And if you don't check your voicemail, you're going to miss opportunities. And to have an appropriate email. And I'm using, I tell my participants, you got to present your professional self. The Rad Gamer 420 is a real life experience. People don't understand or get it sometimes, that they need to leave their gaming system email separate. And I encourage them to even create a business only email where they're like, when they apply for a job, they're emailing the job description to themselves and creating strictly an email account for that. The benefit for that is like I've seen participants get called 6, 7, 8 months later for a job interview, and they don't remember the job, they don't remember the posting, they don't remember the information at all. So it's really a necessary way, I think, for them to keep track of what they're doing, especially with all the technology online. So a lot of us in the Central Valley still kind of drift towards the objective statement, especially when a person doesn't have a lot of work history. But really the trend is that the employer wants to see some sort of summarized statement in relationship to your skills and abilities, right? So I just created an example or presented an example here so you can kind of know and see the difference. I know a lot of you already have experience in this field, but again, just kind of to reiterate the key components and differences. So we talk about the basics. We're looking at skills and qualities. One of the things that I found on a couple of news sites is they're not calling it soft skills anymore. They're calling it power skills, which I found to be very interesting. That's not a term that has found its way in this area necessarily, but I just wanted again to present some of my favorites to use as far as skills and qualities go. A lot of the employers, at least here in the Central Valley, are more fixated on the individual and their personality and their soft skills as opposed to the hard skills, because they know that they're going to have to train the applicant to do the job no matter what. I mean, you're thinking an individual works at McDonald's. I mean, like taking a very base level, an individual works at McDonald's and then they have to go to Burger King. They still have to get retrained in the systems and the processes and the routines for that. So to me, there's a time and a place to focus on skills and qualities as opposed and soft skills versus hard skills. Because I think that the hard skills will shine in the employer section where you're talking about what you've learned and what you know. Whereas if you list skills and qualities more so, I would suggest focusing more on the soft skills. And then so when we look at soft skills, I was asking you to also tell me some of your favorite skills that statements that you like to use in relationship to this area of the resume.
For us, actually, a big one that a lot of people don't think about is if you're bilingual, and then put the languages. People don't think that's a skill, but it's a huge one, especially like here in California. Chris, jump in there.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Raise
okay.
your hand.
Yes, I'm Christopher with Rio Hondo College. I'm a job developer. And I was just working with a student yesterday on his resume. And what he listed was, it was under education. He listed the names of his courses. And I told him what you should do is list, okay, what skills did you learn in those courses? And list them under skills. Because they're not going to know what Auto 121 is.
Right.
I'm just using this as kind of an example. They're not going to know. And then what I did is I got out the school catalog and I said, okay, let's look up this class. And what did you learn in the class, in the course summary? And I said, okay, that's what you need to put on your resume under skills. And he had like all like soft skills listed, which is okay. But I think what employers, especially since they spend so little time looking over it, they want to know what exactly can you do? What did you learn in the program? I'm in career technical education, so it's very career specific.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my take, my 2 cents.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really do want this to be a discussion because I'm just basing it off of a lot of baseline research that I did. I didn't go, I maybe spent 20 hours preparing for this. I didn't go into a huge amount of depth. So talk to me a little bit more about what are some of the other skills or quality statements you like to use?
Someone said adaptability. Someone, I avoid team player. Instead, use working effectively and swiftly alongside a team to accomplish daily tasks and expectations. Receptive to feedback, constructive criticism, growth mindset. We hope the employer knows what a growth mindset is.
And Greg, you were touching on the bilingual piece. I tend to have them identify if they're bilingual and or if they're biliterate. So I have them list both on the resume if they can do both. If they, because a lot of individuals can speak it, but they can't read and write it. So I want them to be able to identify that additional strength if they have it. So moving on, thank you very much for your feedback and sharing. We tend to, at least in our office, use the ONET to help us with jobs information. So like there's job descriptions there, and we tend to pull from that resource pretty frequently in regards to employment history. When you're looking at employment history, one of the things that kind of surprised me that I was reading up on was identify gaps in employment in the resume, like in a and we're talking like from a chronological perspective, if it's more than 6 months. So some of the things that I was noting are some of these examples, you know, took a hiatus to care for a family member, decided to take personal leave due to conditions of COVID. So if there's large gaps in time, like 2 years-ish or more, the suggestion was to actually address the elephant in the room and identify it. I'm open to discussion on what thoughts and feelings are in relationship to that at this time, because that was one of the things that was kind of shocking to me when I was reading up on some of this information. So go ahead and raise a hand and tell me what your thoughts are in regards to using dates. And
I like dates. I think you need to have dates, because if you say you worked here, I don't know if that's a month or 2 months. If all your jobs are really short, like it's gonna be a red flag. But if you've had a long chunk of time, you've been loyal to a company for a couple of years, you definitely need dates on there. Carmen.
Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Perfect. I'm on the same page as Greg. I would like to know timeframes of employment, because sometimes I do tell my participants, you know, if you work there less than 2 months, there's no need to actually put that there, because then they're going to question, hey, why did you only stay there for 2 months? I work with individuals who have been previously incarcerated. So what I suggest for them, instead of actually having a gap, is if they actually worked or had some sort of duties while they were incarcerated, to actually list those, because it actually gives them more skills, more reason why not to kind of like identify the gaps in their employment, and going too much into depth of why there was a gap.
Right. So, and that was what identify any professional development or training. So, spent time gaining certificates or training in certain areas. So their indication was to date it as if it were a job, and we're talking about, again, a chronological resume, but to notify it and own it, because most job search engines require you to put some front-loaded resume in there anyway, so there's going to be gaps. So my personal take on it also, when I started thinking about it, was address the elephant in the room, right? The employer is going to identify the gap, know the gaps there. So why not at least give them a resume with some sort of like proper explanation about maybe why the gap exists, and assist them with, you know, having a greater chance and opportunity to secure that interview. Are there any other questions, or anybody else have any comments or thoughts?
Someone said dates are a must. Yep, that household manager, I like that title. Volunteer work, a functional resume works for employment gap history. Sherri, you talk about that functional resume versus the chronological. Chris,
We have it coming up.
Okay, all right, Chris, you had your hand up. Or...
Oh, okay, I was on mute. I saw one example online, and it said career exploration. it had like a gap of like a year or two, and it was called career. And I remember exactly how they had like a description on that, like exactly what they did, but it was titled like career exploration, had like, you know, that the years, whatever. And I forget exactly what it said, but I thought that was a good way, because I had one individual I was working with. He was he moved to the United States from another country. He was from Australia, and it took him several years just to get his visa to work. So we had that couple year gap because it took that long to get a visa to work. And um, so I thought career exploration and, you know, kind of like is one way to kind of like address the elephant in the room. Why is there a gap in time?
Right. I like that. I'm gonna actually make a note of that. So remember when writing a resume job description to use action words. This is something that my youth especially struggle with. Like they just want to list like and not I'm like, tell me what you did. I'm like, well, I loaded pallets. How did you load the pallets? Like trying to draw the story out of them about the procedural process and the equipment that they used, and really trying to gain more knowledge and insight about their day-to-day routine at the job in regards to what they were successful at. I tell them that they need to be honest. I'm like, when we're talking about like you babysat, you know, you were still employed, right? So be honest and treat it as self-employment, whether you were actually paid or voluntold by mom or dad or aunt or uncle or whoever, it's still employment, right? And to quantify achievements when available, right? So if you're, you know, like working in a processing plant, you know, we have a lot of industrial up here in the valley. And so if there's a routine or a status or quota that has to be met, I identify that definitely in the employment section of the resume. Make sure that you're tailoring the content to the position you're applying for and make it easy to read. I was going back and forth. I visually am not a fan of a bazillion bullet points on the resume, but there was a lot of emphasis on using bullet points because it was easier to read. So I again am interested in hearing thoughts and opinions in regards to the subject matter. Come on, you
Don't
guys
mix the
can't be
two.
quiet on me. I need some help here. Help me out.
Bullet
Are we
points,
raising,
please.
are we raising our hands or just?
No.
Either way,
Nope.
I'm open. I'm
All right, so
probably
I
easiest going person you can ever meet.
I believe, hi, my name is Moises. I believe that the paragraph form, I personally used to use the bullet form, but the paragraph form on the job description makes it seem more whole instead of like categorized, like sectioned off. So that's my opinion. I lean more towards the paragraph description instead of the bullet, which I now use.
Most everyone is saying in the chat bullet points. Due to time, they're not going to read it. Paragraphs are too hard to read. It looks like a lot of info. None of us like reading. We don't. I think we know we need that white space on that, right? Rosalind, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the bullet points seem to work well. I know for marketing, the studies show that subconsciously the eyes will go down the screen, kind of like marking, and things that are in a bullet form, it'll captivate our attention subconsciously versus wanting to read, because then it becomes like a block, like, oh, too much time, I don't have time, and you have to really focus. But what are your thoughts on that? Because that's what I've read.
Just to add to what I just said and listening to that, often your skills are bulleted, and those I'll bulletize my skills, but when you're bulletizing your skills and then you're bulletizing your summary, it kind of looks like they're all skills, right? So sectioning them off into paragraphs and bullets will be like sectioning off different areas of the page. So that's why, to me, I understand how it could be easier to understand and to look for information that you are an employer would be looking for, like certain detailed job descriptions on their duties and stuff like that. But I think the bullet points is everyone, if you're using bullet points on the job description, is everyone using bullet points for the skills as well?
I use in the skills category, I do a table and then I take out the lines and stuff so it's invisible and I use bullets, right? And then it'll just be a single word or 2 words in each of the little boxes. And in the description portion, it'll be bullets, but it'll be more like, let's say, customer service hyphen, and then just a description of what they did. You know, and if it was like data tracking, then a description of what they did, but really brief. So it's almost like a sentence or 2 in a bullet point format.
Yeah, I agree with Rosalinda. So when I'm assisting students, I support them, like Sherri stated, in the summary section. It is a paragraph form with highlighting their hard skills or power skills versus soft skills now. And then underneath that, their skills, it's bullet form. Or for skills, if they have qualifications that are relevant to that particular position, I would suggest my students to do qualifications, skill qualifications, and then they would highlight that information. And then in each job description, it would be a bullet point highlighting their measurable results and accomplishments so that the employers can see how that resume is targeted for that particular position. And I've attended many resume workshops, and one in particular, which I really like, from a young lady that I researched. She uses the backwards 7 trick. So if you use the backwards 7 and you write the backwards 7 on your resume, then that is the information that the recruiter or employer would focus in and hone in on the information that's provided on the resume.
What is the backwards 7? I'm not familiar with that.
So the backwards 7, you would see the top third portion of the resume, and that's the information that the employer would focus on. So basically, in that first backwards 7 that you have, let's say you bolded the backwards 7, the employer would focus on your summary, and that would provide that information, like what value you would bring to the employer, what information, why you are applying for this particular job, and that long piece, that horizontal piece of or vertical, whatever. You guys know it's Wednesday.
Thank you. No, that helps explain
That
that makes
piece
sense.
would
Thank you.
explain that information, your job, your title, and a few of those bullet points in regards to that description. So I share that trick with my students when I'm working with them, to draw out that backward 7. As Sherri stated, we have less than 6 minutes, or 6 to 12 seconds to review a resume. So that's the information that the recruiter would be seeing when they're reviewing your resume.
Perfect. According to the chat, banking definitely is bullet points. Nisha, can you see people are asking for more information about the backward 7? Maybe if you can find a link or something.
I actually have some documents I can share in the chat with you all. Let me
Thank
find
you.
them.
Perfect, thank you. And how many sentences or bullet points are traditionally accepted in a chronological resume format? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat.
Someone says 4 to 6.
That is correct.
No,
When
there you
have
go.
a long history, they're saying no more than 12. Like if you've been there multiple years. But for the most part, they're saying that they're looking at 4 to 6 key points for each thing on the employment piece. And I should have put my clicker on. And how much history should be used on a resume? How many years of experience, like overall, how many years would you say?
I'm saying 10. 10 depends how your age, right? 10, yeah. Everyone's saying 10 years max, 10 to 15. For skills qualifications, recommend 6. I see. If you're dealing with company 10 plus years, more bullet points. Are we gonna talk about types of resumes later on? Because someone mentioned the Canva, and I'm like, Canva looks great, but I think if you're only for marketing or design student or client, I worry about the automated tracking systems with Canva for resumes.
So
10 years.
the trend is in fact 10 years, unless the history warrants, you know, like what the current job is to go back no more than 15 as far as work history goes. So most of you seem to be pretty much on target with that. And I don't think that that really has changed much as far as trend goes in the last 10 years that I've seen in regards to the labor market. So when we're talking about education and the education piece, you know, obviously you're going to list the most recent educational opportunity first. I have to go through that with kids, especially the nowadays that are doing college and high school concurrently, that I encourage them to list the community college that they're attending and doing their coursework with first, and then listing the high school. There's a lot of back and forth noise online depending on which site you look at and what you do in regards to whether or not you include the years attended. A lot of people are saying that if you include the years attended, it kind of dates you, and if you don't, then they're like looking at it like you're being evasive. So what are some thoughts in relationship to listing years attended on an educational piece on the resume? Go ahead and raise your hand, put it in the chat. I can go either way. Guys, this has got to be a working dialogue.
Someone's like, I tend to just place graduation date. Erica, go on. You don't need to raise hands, people. Just speak up.
Hi, good morning. So I usually will put the date they completed. I don't put years attended unless they didn't complete like their high school diploma, and that's the highest, degree that they would have gotten. So I just put the year graduated with their if it's an AA or BA, or if for high school, like I said, of course, when they graduated, or if they didn't graduate, just reference the years attended. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
I wouldn't.
I do the year that they graduated, except for high school. I never have them put the year they graduated from high school, because that just puts them in an age block. Like, you know, they can figure out your age at that point. So, but for the other ones, no. Unless they're in progress, then I'll have them say from what day they started to present if they're still in college.
Someone said unless they're youth under 25, I wouldn't add the high school diploma on their resume. Assuming they went to college, yes, I don't think you need a high school diploma on there. But if they're in a CTE field where they're getting a certificate, or they don't have a BA, do we put a high school diploma?
I say yes if it's like, I had a student who was in a high school program that was like career training as well, and it was relevant to to the field that she was in. So I said that I would include the high school diploma if it's like something career specific training.
So I tend to agree with that. I really try and look at programs or clubs or activities that they did when they were in high school, especially because my students are a little younger, because I feel like it will help them identify and connect with a potential employer. Like, so if, for example, like if they did 4 years of FFA, you know, and depending on what industry they're looking to go into, or they did 3 years of welding in high school, I just put welding 1, 2, 3, or welding and then a hyphen and how many years that they've done it, because I want to show some sort of longevity and dedication to a particular area, right? So they're doing welding for 3 years, or they did football for 4 years. You know, if they don't have the history as far as the work dedication piece, as far as showing longevity, I like to show that they have like multiple like commitments in school in regards to like how long they belong to a club or an entity, or how they supported maybe lower class individuals, or helped with special needs students or whatever. There's a lot of opportunities in reference to that. So I like to try and showcase that for them as much as possible. So then references is pretty straightforward. Make sure the individual agrees to serve as a reference. Obviously identify as personal or professional. Typically 3 to 4 references should be listed, unless the nature of the work. There were some instances where instances where they said provide more, but the general thing that I tell my individuals is don't use family unless they are the actual employer. And then to include the name, title, employer, phone number, email, and relationship. So, and then I have the, oops, sorry. Then I just give some suggestions about who they can potentially use as a reference, because sometimes they're like, well, I don't know who to use. So I try and have them reference maybe their high school guidance counselor, or, and they can use myself. And then they usually have to, you know, have had at least one job where they've done something for somebody, whether mow neighbor's lawn or do childcare, something of that nature. Are there any questions at this point?
I have a question on the references. I was told that we were not supposed to be putting references on a resume unless asked by the employer, or like put on upon request. Is that what
I
is your
typically put references available upon request on the actual resume page, and then have them create a separate reference page.
got it?
I have a question.
Sure.
So what do you guys do when you have somebody you're working with that did not get their high school diploma and does not plan to pursue their high school diploma? So what do you put on your education? I've seen where people put like dates attended, like I had referenced before, but does anyone else have any suggestions?
I'd leave off the education piece.
Are they attending school at all, like college or adult school or anything?
No,
At school?
no.
I usually don't tend to put anything there either when they're not pursuing or didn't receive or just got like certain amount of credits, because then red flags go in as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, I had struggled with somebody where, they, wanted to make money, but they didn't want to pursue their education. And, you have to let them come to that realization by applying for jobs and getting passed up. But I wondered if there was something else that I could be putting. Thank you.
I sometimes think about organizations or community service groups that they may have been a part of and list that under education. Like if a student was a part of the 4-H program or Boy Scouts of America or some kind of organizational, you get a lot of education from non-traditional settings too.
Thank you all for sharing. That's a good question. Usually I kind of tend to personally delve into the whys of why they're not pursuing their education. Usually I might indicate that the degree is on hold until, further notice, or, like something to that extent, just to identify that they do have 3 years of high school. The struggle is that the employer cannot ask certain questions, right? And so does the employer want to know whether or not they've completed any school at all or dropped out like after junior high? They don't know. So I tend to at least identify it at some level as far as the educational component, but again, it's really an individual basis and a one-on-one as far as like, do they plan to go back eventually? I might just list it as ongoing because, we have different career pathways and programs for that, where they start and stop and start and stop. It just really depends again on the individual, but that was a really good question. And if you want to throw your email in the chat, I can definitely research it and get you a more quantifiable research explanation. Definitely, I'd be happy to do that. So when we look at a functional resume, I just wanted to present this as an example of one that I did do with a student that had no work history whatsoever, basically lived at home until the age of 20, and essentially assisted with younger siblings, and was just basically the primary utilized individual for the family because she was the oldest out of all the cousins as well, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a functional resume example that I put together for her. in regards to, oh, okay, good. Okay, I was trying to read the chat too, sorry. In relationship to the functional resume. What I was reading up on, however, is that the functional resume may have the same story, but it's harder to demonstrate the growth and skills and experiences that are separated from the job history. There may be career advancement, but without relevant skills attached to the job, it's just a bunch of skills and jobs that may not mean anything in relationship to one another. I found that to be more consistent than not, that most individuals do not like the functional resume. And several sources also indicated that the resume readers can miss components of what's in the resume because they're looking to identify things in a certain format. So again, what are thoughts and feelings in regards to this?
Trinette has her or his hand up. I'm not sure.
Hello. Hey guys.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so my thing is that I wanted to I know you're asking about functional resumes, but I didn't get a chance to pop in for the references and it's bugging me. But the references, a lot of people have put in the chat that they don't include the references, and I know you mentioned put references available upon request at the end of the resume, but we highly suggest our students don't do that. It's almost a given that the students should be ready to have those references and just provide them and use that space on the resume for other things that's going to highlight their skills, you know, something they can bring to the company versus having that listed on the resume. And so I wanted to make that point. And I think for the functional resumes, because you asked about this one, is using the functional resume for the experienced person, not for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, you know, that it can be primarily maybe used for them instead of for the traditional student. I'm assuming, I'm looking at the people I know on here, most of us work with, might not even have enough experience to go for a functional type of resume and or considering a combination resume instead, or they can pull from. But I highly suggest for my students, if they don't have more than 5 or 7, sometimes even 10 years of experience in that industry, that they shouldn't even consider looking at a functional or combination resume, not unless they just really trying to keep something to one page. Thank you.
Sure, thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Please, I need to hear from you.
Yep.
I need, you know, like trends in the Central Valley are very different from the Bay Area and Southern California. So I would really like to hear from others, especially in different regions.
I've been using functional resumes more often. Students tend to have disparate experiences, and it's helpful to be able to demonstrate skills. Chronological is best for less experience. Yeah, someone else said I like functional resumes for people with less experience. So Amber and Carmen have competing philosophies on it.
Well, the reason for that is because the functional is like where you summarize pretty much what you have done in that, you know, and you have more than 3 to 4 pages of a chronological resume where you can just input that into just 1 or 2 of a functional one, you know, and it gives them kind of like a summary of what they have done in all those years, especially for you know, if they've been there for long terms and they've been promoted within the company as well.
Okay, anybody? I hear what you're saying. I'm just indicating what my research provided. I know that there's, like I showed, it doesn't like me having the chat. Sorry, I have to keep, I'm trying to monitor the chat too. Like I said, this individual basically was a 20-year-old with no formal job experience at all. But what the key thing was, again, is the readers and whether or not and she couldn't figure out why she wasn't moving forward with getting, you know, interviews. And so we did some work on her resume and revisited it. But and looked at how she was answering questions and interviewing. So again, I would love to hear opinions and trends. And I saw Carrie's hand up, but I don't know what happened. It just flipped the screen again on me.
Oh, I took it down, but I can answer. I mean, I've been using functional resumes more and more with students just because they have a sort of a greater variety of experiences and not sort of that climbing the ladder kind of history that they can demonstrate, you know, progressive skills. And if we can aggregate things that come from class projects and work in fast food or retail, and then things that they've done as volunteers, and we can aggregate those things under a couple of key skill sets, then I think it can be more powerful for them to demonstrate you know, some really reliable key skills that are going to be relevant to the job that they're looking for, rather than a chronological that's really dependent upon showing a progression in skill sets in order for them to get a job.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. That's really insightful, and I will definitely want to research that out a little better too as well. So I'm just to wrap things up. There was a lot of feedback in regards to a lot of different resources that you use in regards to templates, but I didn't really address or ask the question in regards to what are some of your favorite resources as far as providing tools, or maybe like, you know, you're trying to communicate something with an individual and maybe a video or something will help them understand on a different level. If you don't mind sharing just in the chat what that might be. And then I've provided my contact information there. If anybody wants to have additional conversation or email me or have specific questions, please feel free to reach out. I will be happy to research further in regards to any of this topic today.
Jeanette, you have your hand up?
Yes, I had just a couple of quick questions about the resume, and this is more for everyone. Is and students that I'm doing resumes with, I see a lot of personal pronouns, primarily I, and wanted to know, and I'm just thinking, is it because of this generation, or is there a move and a shift of saying that we can tell students, especially even for that summary statement, to not that it was okay that they use I statements. In the experience section, I know starting off with those action verbs, but I statements, are we still telling them no, 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 no? Because I'm telling all my students no on I statements, and I'm trying to get an idea of where the trend is going with that.
Everything I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but everything that I have read is indicated still use that, not to use the I, like to keep it an action, or like almost like you're starting a bullet point like statement where you're just like managing or provided or using those sorts of vocabulary words to lead the sentence, but do not use the I.
Yeah, I agree with that. I never use a first person point of view on a resume. On the cover letter, then you can use a first person, but not on the resume.
Okay, which I'm known. I've been seeing a trend of students. I'm telling it to every student.
I see that. I see that too, and I always just remind them.
Lack of English skill, just that. So I'm just wondering if a trend is moving in a different direction with that. And then if you can also answer a question, I see somebody else has a hand up. Can you also answer a question about these templates? We briefly touched on Canva, but there's a lot of template use in, Word or Canva now, and then putting icons on their resumes, like, a little phone symbol and just different little symbols. Can you speak to that and what we should be doing with that when it comes to talking to our students about that? I'm telling them no, that they need something more basic and just more structured, but just want to get a sense from the group about that as well.
Go ahead and chime in, because I'm a traditionalist and I'm like no too, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm on point with that. Because
Trinette, I'll respond after Dawn because their hand was up before me, but I'll respond to those questions.
Thank you, Nisha. Hi, Trinette.
Hi, Don.
You and I are on the same page, and the reason that you're getting more and more students using I and the little icons is because the latest version of Word has templates with those on them.
Yes, and that's
And
what
the
I'm
other
asking.
thing we tell our students is do not use templates.
Yes, I tell them that too, but it's overtaking me. You know, the templates are it's almost like a given. They're going to use a template, and then we have tools out there to help them use templates. So, you know, I'm pushing on this, but I feel like I'm starting to get some pushback. And like, all right, maybe there's a different direction we need to be going in.
But you know, I always tell them that they don't want to be cookie cutter, that they want to stand out, and they're not going to be able to do that when they use a template. And then you always have the issue of when that template is downloaded to the employer's scanning system, their software may not read that template. So there's a lot of risk being taken there. So I try to show them how easy it is to use a blank Word page, a blank Google Docs page, and create your own resume that allows you to stand out. That doesn't say you have to have 50 characters for education and 20 characters for a job title or whatever it is, and the placement, because we teach our students that they need to deliver a resume that is going to best market them, not a cookie cutter resume.
Yes, Don, that is correct. So as a job developer, I support students all day long in resume writing. And I think two challenges. One part is our high school students are having difficulty with resume development. I do workshops at high schools as well. So I just recently was at a workshop when a high school student did include the I on their resume. So I think that's the first conversation that we need to have with our high school students that are transitioning to community college, meeting with those counselors and talking to them on how to develop resume writing. Secondly, a lot of students are developing their resumes off of templates such as Indeed. Indeed also is challenging for students when they're writing their resume. So we had a workshop a while ago for job scan. So the ATS applicant tracking system that you're referring to, I encourage our students to utilize that system a lot when they're developing their resume so that they can see the difference between the job description and their resume to make sure that it's targeted for that position. And strongly encourage them to remove the I statements, Trinette, so that it is targeted for them and they're using their action words and accomplishments in their resumes from the skills that they have either obtained in high school and or college from classes or relevant courses. I know Chris brought that up earlier today, but that's my little 2 cents. I do have resume templates, like a little resume packet that I share with students and just tell them to remove that information that they see to add their information if they're having difficulty with just pulling up a Word document to create their own resume template. Hope that was helpful.
Yes, thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Don.
The
I like it.
ATS job scan, Liz, job scan is free for all. You can create an account and use your email to upload or to activate your account, and you have five free scans a month. So you would upload your resume and download or scan the job description, and it's like an AI tool, so it would provide you information to tell you to fix and change for your resume, and then submit your resume to the employer that you're applying to.
I love all this discussion, everyone. We might have to have another webinar where it's just we're going to talk about a topic and it's all discussion. We don't have someone speak. We are wrapping up, and I want to be respectful of all of our times. I love all the chat. It's still going. We love it. This is being recorded. It will have it up on YouTube. Sherri, I want to thank you for leading today's discussion, sharing information. It was great. I do want we're going to continue this discussion next month, actually. We are October 20th. Greg Watkins from the Markle Foundation is going to be our presenter and talking about skills-based resumes. And they actually have a whole kind of, I know we just talked, we don't like templates, but they actually have a resume builder on their website that's totally free. And then it doesn't even cost me to download it when it gets done. I hate that. Build out a resume. Oh, you want to keep it? It costs money. And he's going to talk about a couple other things too, but skills-based resume is going to be a great topic. We will send out that registration very soon. Few things we briefly mentioned. November 20th, we are having a 1-day workshop. If you like this and want to meet people in person, we're going to be on the Fresno State campus. It is only $50. We're going to talk about how to market ourselves. We have such great resources and we help so many people. We're passionate about this, but how do we get our students and clients in the door? We'll talk about the importance of networking for our students, mentoring by not necessarily by us, but mentoring our students and clients and getting out there. And then we'll talk about personal development because we always want to keep making ourselves better. So we really invite you to join us at Cal State University of Fresno as part of the CPA Northern Regional Workshop, November 8th. It's going to be a great day. And then if you love that, join us at our state conference coming up end of February. We're in Ventura at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Every room oversees the ocean. It's a great venue. We've been there before. Our state conference, we have 150, 200 people show up. And it's just a bigger version of what the North's going to do for the regional and even a bigger version of the webinar because we're all in person. We get to network. So that more information will be coming out very soon on both those. We invite you to join us for both of those events. Thank you again, Sherri. Thank you all for coming and staying. And we hope you got something out of this. And yeah, so have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. It was nice to meet you. I hope I get to see everybody that's at least in the northern half of the state in Fresno.
Thank you, Sherri. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luis Sobrevilla, and I work with the Merced County Office of Education, and I'm a proud member of California Placement Association.
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I work with Merced County Office of Education. I'm a proud member of the CPA Northern Region.
Hi, my name's Denise Crawford, and I work at Bakersfield College, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association Central Region.
Hi, I'm Rosalinda Rivas, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association.